The alarms shrieked through the air like a broken siren, jagged and relentless. Nurses rushed in blue and green scrubs, sneakers squeaking across polished tile, poles rattling as they wheeled them past. The metallic tang of blood clung to the antiseptic-drenched air. Somewhere down the hall, a man shouted for help. Somewhere else, a child wailed. But in Bay 4, all of it collapsed into a single, urgent rhythm. The beeping monitor, the rapid compression of a bag valve mask, the barked orders of triage. From where are you watching this story? Drop a comment below. I'm curious. Dr. Nathan Hale pushed through the sliding doors, white coat snapping around his knees, his stethoscope slung loose at his collar. His dark hair was damp at the temples, his jaw clenched with that particular tension every attending in the ER war when the pager screamed at an unholy hour. His mind narrowed the chaos into a clean line of procedure. Patient, stats, trauma level, stabilize first, details later. Dr. Hale, over here. A nurse called, waving him toward the curtained bay. He strode forward, latex gloves already snapping over his hands, voice calm but commanding. What have we got? Female 30s brought in from a highway collision. Vitals unstable, BP dropping, arrhythmia showing. GCS 13 and falling. The nurse's words spilled as they moved. He nodded. Stay professional. Always professional. He yanked the curtain back and froze. The breath left his chest in a violent, invisible punch. On the gurney, pale against the starched hospital sheets, lay the face that had haunted his nights for nearly a decade. Her, Emma. Her eyes were half-lidded, lashes trembling. A bruise marred her temple, a thin trickle of blood trailing into her hairline. Her lips he had kissed 1,000 times in a life that had burned out too soon, were parted in shallow, gasping breath. The world tilted, the monitor's beeping warped into a distorted echo in his ear. His throat tightened with something dangerously human, something he had locked away years ago under steel and silence. Doctor, the nurse prompted, confusion flickering across her face. Nathan blinked hard, forced the tremor down. He was the doctor. He was in control. He couldn't afford anything else. 2 large bore push fluids. Prep for intubation if she slips further. Let's stabilize her now. His voice carried, steady, even as his insides shook. His hands moved on autopilot, checking airway, feeling for resistance, assessing the bruising across her ribs. But inside he was drowning. Emma, here after all these years. She had disappeared like smoke one winter night. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone. He had searched, begged, cursed, nearly destroyed himself trying to find her. And when nothing came, he built a cage around the wreckage of his heart, locked it tight, and threw himself into medicine. Now she was here, broken on his table, and he had no idea she would live. The monitor screamed a flatline warning, dragging him back. VTAC, a nurse shouted. Charge to 200, Nathan snapped. His voice, this time, had the sharp edge of desperation. He pressed the paddles to her chest, sweat beading at his temples. Clear, the jolt arched her body, then slammed her back against the gurney. The monitor hesitated, then a blip, then another, then rhythm. Then rhythm. A ragged breath hissed into Nathan's lungs. Relief was an ache as deep as pain. Stabilized. For now, murmured the nurse. Nathan bent over Emma, studying her face like a man who had been blind for years and was suddenly given sight. The scar along her collarbone was new. So were the faint lines at the corners of her mouth. She looked older, yes, but still her. His hands trembled in his gloves. He pressed them hard against the gurney rail to still them. She groaned faintly, lashes fluttering. Her eyes slivered open, hazel still burning with that same hidden fire. And when they found him, even in her half-conscious state, something sparked. Recognition, shock, maybe even fear. And Nate? Her voice was a cracked whisper. He swallowed hard, his chest caving. Emma, her lips moved again, struggling against the oxygen mask. He leaned closer. I. Her voice broke into coughs, chest convulsing against fractured ribs. Nurses moved to steady her. Don't talk, Nathan ordered, though his voice cracked. Save your strength. But her hand lifted, trembling, reaching blindly. He caught it before he could think. his gloved fingers swallowing her cold ones. She squeezed weakly, and for one brief, impossible moment, the chaos fell away. Then her monitor spiked again. "Doctor," her BP crashing. Nathan snapped back into motion, shouting orders, unclenching her hand only when absolutely forced. But inside, the chaos raged louder than any alarm. Because Emma wasn't supposed to be here. She wasn't supposed to exist in his life anymore. And yet here she was, bleeding, fading, holding secrets he had no name for. And one way or another, he knew this night would break him open. The monitor wailed, a shrill, merciless alarm. Her pressure's tanking, 70 systolic and falling. Norepinephrine, start the drip wide open. Nathan barked, snapping a look at the resident fumbling with the 4. His hands were already on Emma's chest, assessing, recalculating. "What's bleeding? Where's the leak?" He scanned her body, the bruising across her abdomen, the rigid tension beneath his fingers. His gut dropped. Possible internal bleed. Get trauma surgery on standby. Now, yes, doc. The room contracted into rapid-fire motions. Nurses slamming syringes into ports, fluids running, the hiss of oxygen. The air tasted of adrenaline and antiseptic. But Nathan's pulse wasn't professional calm anymore. It was a hammering storm, fueled by the sight of Emma's pallor, her lips turning bluish under the oxygen mask. Stay clinical, stay in control. Yet every part of him wanted to scream her name, to shake her awake, to demand why she had disappeared and why fate had delivered her back like this. Broken, fragile, fighting for every beat, he leaned closer. "Stay with me, Emma. Don't you dare quit on me." Minutes stretched like lifetimes. "Pressure stabilizing, doctor, holding at 85 systolic." "Good," Nathan muttered, voice low, more prayer than command. He caught her eyes flicker open again. They were dazed, clouded, but they locked onto him. She mouthed something beneath the mask. He bent close. "What is it?" Her lips formed the word slowly. "Sorry." The syllable knifed through him. A lifetime of silence condensed into one whispered apology. His jaw locked, emotion surging too hard, too fast. "Don't," he whispered back, rough. "Not now." Her eyes closed again, lashes damp. The trauma surgeons swept in, flanked by 2 residents. "What have we got?" "High suspicion of abdominal bleed," Nathan snapped. "Hypertensive intermittent arrhythmia, declining hematocrit. She needs or start on it." "Let's move her." The nurses swung into motion, prepping the gurney, unlocking wheel. Nathan stepped back, hands still shaking despite the mask of control. He should have let her go, handed her over, detached. But as they began to wheel her out, her hand shot out again, weak but deliberate, catching his sleeve. He froze. Her lips formed another word, faint under the hiss of oxygen. He leaned close again, hearing the rasp of her voice. "Don't leave." The plea landed like a defibrillator to his chest. His eyes burned. His mouth was dry. He could barely manage the nod. "I'll be there." The trauma surgeon gave him a sharp look but said nothing. They all knew Dr. Hale didn't make promises. Not to patients. Not to anyone. But this wasn't anyone. This was Emma. The gurney barreled down the hallway, wheels screeching, fluorescent lights flashing overhead in a staccato rhythm. Nathan walked fast beside it. One hand braced on the rail as though his touch alone could tether her here. Nurses cleared the corridor, shouting, "Coming through," into the awe. Doors swung wide. The sterile chill of the surgical theater hit like ice. Scrub techs darted around, prepping instruments, trays clattering faintly. The anesthesiologist was already at her head, adjusting tubing, checking vitals. Nathan scrubbed in. He wasn't on the schedule. He wasn't even supposed to be here. But he was the attending who'd brought her in, and no one dared to argue with the look in his eyes. He took his place at the table, opposite the trauma surgeon. His gaze flicked to Emma's face one last time before the mask descended fully, rendering her still, her chest rising and falling in artificial rhythm. He whispered under his breath, words no one else could hear. "I won't lose you again." The incision was swift, precise. Blood welled, dark and alarming. The surgeon's voice was clipped. "Significant hemoperineum. Get suction." Nathan's gloved hands worked automatically. retractors in place, vision narrowing. He was in the zone, hyper-focused, every muscle taut. But beneath it all was the echo of memory. Nights spent with her laughter filling the room. The way she used to trace circles on his wrist when she thought he wasn't listening. The last night, her eyes hollow, her words broken, her body gone by morning, gone. And now here, his heart pounded louder than the suction. Source located, the surgeon said. Splenic laceration. Let's repair, a monitor shrieked. Emma's rhythm spiked, erratic. V-fib, she's crashing. Adrenaline surged into Nathan's veins. CPR, get the paddles charged to 300. They shocked her. Her body jolted, falling limp. The line stayed flat. Again, Nathan's voice cracked. Another jolt. Nothing. The room blurred. For one impossible second, he saw himself years ago, kneeling on his apartment floor after she left, heart stuttering with the same hollow silence. "No," he growled, slamming his hands onto her chest, compression strong, relentless. "You don't get to leave twice, doctor." Again clear, the jolt slammed through her. Then beep, beep, beep. The rhythm returned, weak, fragile, but there. Nathan sagged, sweat dripping into his mask. His chest heaved. "Vitals stabilizing," someone murmured. The surgeon continued, hands steady. Repairing splenic artery. Nathan forced his breath even, forcing himself back into control. But inside, every beat of that fragile rhythm was another thread stitching him back to her. Hours blurred. At last the bleeding was controlled. The incision closed. The monitors steadied. Emma was alive, barely, but alive. They wheeled her into recovery. Nathan stripped off his gloves, his gown, his mask, everything but the gnawing ache in his chest. His reflection in the scrub room mirror looked like a stranger. Hollow eyes, bloodied scrubs, jaw clenched too tight. He pressed his palms to the counter, bowed his head. Why now? Why her? Why after all these years? He wanted answers, needed them. But first he had to make sure she opened her eyes again. Hours later she did. The recovery room was dim, machines humming. Nathan sat in the corner chair, still in scrubs, arms folded, staring at her like a man starved. Her eyes flickered open, hazel catching the faint light. She blinked, disoriented. He leaned forward, voice soft but roughened. "Hey," she froze when she saw him. Not confusion, not surprise. Something deeper, guilt. Her throat bobbed. You weren't supposed to save you." His jaw tightened. "Too bad." Silence stretched, brittle as glass. "Finally," she whispered. "I shouldn't be here." His chest constricted. "Then why are you?" Her eyes glistened. She turned her face away. "Because I didn't have a choice." Nathan's blood ran cold. "What does that mean?" Emma's lips trembled, the truth caught between fear and exhaustion. Before she could answer, the monitor beeped urgently again. Her body stiffened, breath hitching, and Nathan's world spun back into chaos. The monitor shrieked again, a jagged alarm slicing the dim recovery room in half. Emma's chest heaved, her breath shallow and ragged under the oxygen line. Nathan shot to his feet. "Nurse!" The door banged open, 2 nurses rushing in. "What's happening?" "Desaturation O2 dropping, 30%. Nathan's voice cut sharp. He grabbed the mask, fitting it tighter against her face. "Get respiratory now." Emma's hazel eyes darted wildly, panic burning through the haze of exhaustion. She clutched at his wrist with surprising strength. "Nate," her voice was shredded, thin as glass. "Don't let them." Her words broke into coughing, each one rattling her chest like splintered wood. "Save your breath," he ordered, though his heart thrashed with the weight of her unfinished sentence. "Don't let them what?" The respiratory team barreled in, adjusting tubing, drawing blood for gases. Nathan moved with them, his commands curt but efficient. Within minutes, the monitor steadied. Her chest rose more evenly, color creeping faintly back into her lips. But Nathan's own rhythm wasn't calming. The words she'd tried to force out looped through his mind, barbed and insistent. "Don't let them what? Who's them?" Hours blurred again. By dawn, the air had quieted. Patients discharged, beds flipped, fluorescent lights buzzing like tired insects. Nathan sat in her room, exhaustion clinging to him like a second skin, but he couldn't leave. Every flicker of the monitor tethered him to her. Emma slept, lashes dark crescents against pale cheeks. Her chest rose steadily now. Nathan's mind refused stillness. Questions tore through him like a fever. Why had she vanished all those years ago? Why resurface now, broken and bleeding in his hospital? And what truth was hiding behind her half-spoken plea? He rubbed his face with both hands, growling under his breath. "Nate?" Her voice was barely audible. He looked up fast. Emma's eyes were open, glazed but awake, watching him. "You're still here," she whispered. His throat tightened. "You thought I'd leave. You always were the one to stay," she murmured, a sad half-smile tugging at her lips. "I wasn't." The words were a dagger, twisted slow. Nathan leaned forward, elbows on his knees. "Then tell me why." "Tell me what the hell happened, Emma." "Because you broke me. You left me with nothing but questions and empty bottles and walls I couldn't climb out of." Her gaze shimmered. She turned her face away, voice trembling. "I couldn't stay. That's not an answer. It's the only one I can give." The silence between them buzzed louder than any monitor. Finally, Emma whispered, "I didn't come here to see you." Nathan flinched, though he forced his face still. "Then why?" She hesitated. So long he thought she wouldn't speak. Then, "I was looking for someone who—" Her eyes closed, lashes trembling. "You'll hate me if I tell you." His stomach dropped. Before he could demand more, the nurse entered with chart updates, the fragile thread of confession snapping in two. Nathan masked his face, ordering labs, adjusting fluids, hiding the fire clawing inside. But the words echoed mercilessly. "I was looking for someone. Who? Why here?" And why did her voice break like it carried a truth too dangerous to speak aloud? By mid-morning, Nathan forced himself into a conference room, a mug of stale coffee untouched before him. His colleague, Dr. Patel, eyed him curiously. "You look like hell." Nathan gave a humorless snort. "Feel worse," Patel frowned. "That trauma case last night, the woman. You know her." Nathan stiffened. He hadn't said a word to anyone. "Why do you ask?" Patel shrugged. "Just the way you wouldn't leave her side. That's not you, Nate. Not with patients." Nathan's jaw clenched. "She's different." Patel studied him. "Be careful, whoever she is. Don't let her drag you under." Nathan's hands tightened around the mug until his knuckles whitened. Too late. When he returned to her room, Emma was awake, staring out the window where the winter sun smeared pale gold against glass. He stood at the threshold watching her. For a moment, he almost believed it was years ago. Their apartment window, her hair lit by morning, her voice teasing him awake. Then she spoke, shattering the illusion. "I shouldn't have come here." Nathan crossed the room. "Stop saying that. You nearly died on my table. You're lucky you came here." "No." Her voice shook. She turned her gaze to him, fierce despite her weakness. "You don't understand. Being here, it puts you in danger." His pulse spiked. Danger from what? Her lips parted, the words trembling on the edge. Then her monitor beeped sharply again, startling them both. A nurse swept in, fussing with lines. The fragile moment collapsed. Emma sank back, eyes closing, silent. Nathan stood over her, fists tight at his sides, his heart pounding with questions that had no outlet. Danger from what? That night, Nathan couldn't sit still. He prowled the corridors like a man hunted, his brain replaying every word, every flicker of fear in her eyes. Finally, he went to her chart. Labs, vitals, surgical notes, everything clinical, everything ordinary. But beneath it, something nagged, an anomaly. She had no listed next of kin, no emergency contact, nothing, as though she'd erased herself from the world. Nathan's blood chilled. And then he noticed the folded paper stuffed awkwardly into her belongings bag. Nurses had logged it, found in patient's jacket pocket. He shouldn't. He knew it. But he did. Hands trembling, he unfolded it. Scrawled in rushed handwriting was a single line. "Protect him. Don't let them find out." Nathan's breath stopped. Protect him. His mind roared, the implications slamming through him. Her disappearance, her return, the way she'd looked at him, half apology, half terror. There was only one conclusion his heart could form. Emma had kept a secret that had a name, a face, maybe even his own eyes. The door creaked. Nathan stuffed the note back as Emma stirred, groaning faintly. Her hazel eyes blinked open, landing on him. She saw the look on his face, and her expression crumpled. You know, she whispered, his chest constricted. Who is he, Emma? Her lips trembled. Tears spilled silently down her cheeks. I never wanted you to find out like this. Nathan stood frozen at her bedside, her tears glinting under the sterile hospital light. His chest felt as if it were splitting down the middle. You know, Emma whispered again, her voice breaking. The words ricocheted inside him, threatening to shatter every fragile wall he had built since the night she left. Tell me, he demanded softly. His tone wasn't clinical anymore, not detached. It was raw, stripped. Who is he? Emma turned her face toward the window, eyes squeezed shut as if the sunlight itself hurt. I was protecting him, she murmured. Nathan's throat tightened. Protecting him from what? Her silence was a scream. He stepped closer, his hand braced on the bed rail. Emma. Her eyes snapped open, fire through the tears. From you, Nate. The air left his lungs in a rush. He staggered back as though she had struck him. From me, his voice broke into disbelief. You disappeared. You shattered everything, and now you're telling me you were protecting a child from me? Emma shook her head furiously, hands trembling against the sheets. Not because of who you are, because of who they would make you be. If they knew, if anyone knew, he was yours, they would never leave you alone. I couldn't let that happen. Nathan's pulse pounded in his temples. Who are they? Her lips parted. For a moment he thought she'd answer, but then her monitor beeped in warning, her breath hitching, her body sagging into the bed. The nurse rushed in, adjusting her oxygen. The fragile thread snapped again. Nathan stood there, fists clenched, fury and heartbreak roiling together. He needed the truth, all of it. And now, hours later, Emma was sedated. The staff insisted she rest. Nathan paced outside her room like a caged animal, scrubs wrinkled, eyes hollow. Patel appeared beside him, carrying 2 coffees. He offered one. You look like you're planning to fight God himself. Nathan didn't answer. Patel studied him. I've never seen you like this. She lied to me, Nathan muttered, almost to himself. For years. Patel frowned. What lie? Nathan almost told him, almost cracked open the dam and let it spill. But something stopped him, the sense that this secret wasn't Patel's to hear. Instead, Nathan whispered, she was protecting someone. Patel tilted his head. Then maybe she had a reason. Nathan shot him a look, but Patel only shrugged. Sometimes we do the wrong thing for the right reasons. The words sank like stones in Nathan's chest. That night Nathan couldn't rest. He sat in the on-call room, staring at the ceiling tiles, every beat of his heart replaying Emma's face. Protect him. Don't let them find out. The note. Her words. Her eyes. A child, his child? The thought hollowed him out and filled him all at once. He had dreamed once of a future like that. Family and warmth. Emma by his side. And she had taken it away. Why? The weight pressed so hard he could barely breathe. He rose, restless, and walked the halls. Eventually, his feet brought him back to her door. She was awake, propped weakly on pillow. Her gaze found him immediately, as if she'd known he was coming. You read it, she said quietly. Nathan's jaw locked. Yes, silence stretched. Finally, she whispered, his name is Noah. The floor dropped out beneath him. Emma's lips trembled. He's 9 years old. 9. 9 years. Nathan staggered back, his hands gripping the doorframe. His vision blurred. 9 years. That was when she left. That was why. The pieces slammed together in his mind with brutal clarity. You were pregnant, he rasped. Emma's tears spilled over. She nodded. He couldn't breathe, couldn't move. His chest constricted with rage and grief and something worse. Longing. Why didn't you tell me? His voice cracked wide open, raw. Because I had to protect him. From me? No. He cried, tore from her throat, desperate. From the world you were stepping in. You had just been offered that fellowship, Nate. You were going to be brilliant, unstoppable. If they knew you had a weakness, a son, they would have used him, used you. You don't understand the politics, the board, the people who stop. Nathan's voice was lethal quiet. You don't get to decide that for me, Emma sobbed. I couldn't let them destroy you. I couldn't let them destroy him. Nathan's fists shook at his sides. He turned away, dragging both hands through his hair, his body trembling. 9 years, his son, his flesh and blood, and he hadn't known. The betrayal was unbearable. And yet, so was the thought of Noah existing without him. The next morning, Nathan called in favors. Quietly, discreetly. By afternoon, he had what he needed: an address, a school, records. Noah. He stared at the photo a colleague had slipped him from the system. A boy with dark hair and hazel eyes. His eyes, Nathan's throat closed. His vision blurred. His hands shook so violently he nearly dropped the photo. He had a son who didn't know him, a son who thought he didn't care. Nathan pressed the photo to his chest, his heart breaking and expanding all at once. When he returned to Emma's room, she was sitting up, looking fragile but stubborn. "You found him," she whispered. Nathan didn't answer. His silence was enough. Her eyes filled with tears. "Please, don't drag him into this. Don't! He's my son." Nathan's voice was hoarse-broken. "You don't get to erase me from his life," Emma sobbed, shaking her head. "You don't know what danger that puts him in. Then tell me," Nathan's voice thundered, raw. "Tell me what the hell you've been hiding. Tell me who they are. Because I'm not walking away this time. Not from him, not from you." Her lips parted, her chest heaving. Fear flickered across her face. And then the door swung open. A man in a suit stepped inside, flanked by hospital security. His badge gleamed under the fluorescent lights. "Dr. Hale," his tone was sharp, authoritative. "We need to speak with you about your patient." Nathan froze. Emma went pale as ash. Her fingers clutched the sheets, knuckles white. "No," she whispered. "It's too soon." The man's gaze flicked between them, cold and assessing. And Nathan understood, with a chill that turned his blood to ice. This was who she'd been running from. Nathan's shoulders stiffened as the man in the suit stepped closer, the hospital security guards flanking him like shadows. "Dr. Hale," the man repeated, voice clipped, bureaucratic. "We need a word about your patient." Nathan moved instinctively, placing himself between Emma's bed and the stranger's. His heart pounded, but his voice was calm, edged steel. "She's in recovery. No conversations without my clearance." The man's gaze flicked to Emma, then back to Nathan. "You don't have that authority. She's in protective custody, and you're interfering." Nathan froze. "Protective custody?" Emma's eyes squeezed shut, tears spilling silently. Her lips moved in a whisper only Nathan caught. "I told you." The man gestured to his badge, Federal Witness Protection. "Your patient, Emma Carter, is under investigation as a material witness in an ongoing case. You're obstructing." Nathan's jaw clenched, his world tilted again. "Witness protection, his Emma." The official turned back toward the door. "She'll be transferred once she's medically stable." "No." Nathan's voice cracked like a whip. The man pivoted slowly, one eyebrow arched. Nathan's chest heaved, his pulse a drumbeat of fury. "She nearly bled out on my table. She's still unstable. Moving her could kill her." Emma whispered hoarsely. "Nate, stop!" He ignored her. "She doesn't leave this hospital until I say she can." The official's lips twitched in something like amusement. "You're emotional, Doctor." Nathan's teeth clenched. "I'm right." The silence stretched until the man finally relented, nodding to security. "She stays for now. But understand, when she walks out of here, she doesn't walk back into your life." The words sliced deep, but Nathan didn't flinch. Not in front of them. Not when Emma's eyes were wide with terror. When they left, the door clicking shut behind them, Nathan turned back to her. "Explain." "No." Emma sagged into her pillows, her face ghost pale. "I didn't want this. Any of it." "Then what happened?" His voice cracked. "Why did you vanish, Emma? Why keep my son from me? Why let me bleed for years while you lived like a ghost?" Her hands trembled. She clutched the sheets as though they might anchor her. "Because I saw something I shouldn't have, years ago, at the clinic where I worked after I left." Her eyes flicked to his. "Guilty, illegal trials, money laundering, people in power who would bury anyone who talked. And when I got pregnant, I couldn't let them know." Nathan's stomach dropped. "I had to disappear," Emma whispered. "Not just for me, for Noah. If they knew he was yours, your name, your career, your brilliance, they'd use you until there was nothing left. And I couldn't risk that." Nathan's throat closed. His hands trembled. So you thought the answer was to rip us apart? Tears streamed down her face. It was the only way to keep you both safe. His fury cracked into grief. He sank into the chair, burying his face in his hands. For years, he had cursed her name. For years, he had hated her silence. And now, she had been carrying all of it alone, protecting him, protecting their son, at the cost of everything. The room was heavy with things unsaid. Finally, Nathan raised his head, voice hoarse. I need to see him. Emma's breath hit. Nate, I need to see my son. She swallowed hard, her lips trembling. Then finally she nodded. The next afternoon, Emma's sister arrived, older, careworn, Noah's guardian since Emma's disappearance. She walked in with a wary expression, holding the hand of a boy who carried the weight of both parents in his small frame. Nathan's chest nearly collapsed at the sight. Dark hair, hazel eyes, his stride uncertain but proud. 9 years old, his son Noah. The boy looked at Emma first, rushing to her side with a choked, "Mom." His small arms wrapped around her carefully, mindful of the right lines. Emma sobbed, kissing his hair, holding him with all the strength she had left. Then Noah's eyes lifted and met Nathan's. A silence fell thick and holy. Noah tilted his head, brow furrowed. "Who's that?" Nathan's heart cracked wide open. He crouched slowly, his voice trembling. "I'm Nathan." His throat closed, but he forced it out. "I'm your dad." Noah blinked, stunned. He glanced at Emma, confusion in his eyes. Emma's tears fell faster. She nodded, whispering, "It's true, baby." Noah turned back to Nathan, studying him with a seriousness beyond his years. Then slowly, he whispered, "You look like me." Nathan choked on a laugh sob, his vision swimming. "Yeah, I guess I do." And then Noah stepped closer, reached out. Nathan caught his small hand, clutching it like it was the most fragile, most sacred thing in the world. For the first time in 9 years, he felt whole. But the peace didn't last. 2 nights later, the federal agents returned. This time, they came with papers, orders. Emma was to be transferred immediately to a safe house in another state. Nathan's chest heaved. "She's not ready. You'll kill her." The agent's voice was ice. "It's not your call." Dr. Emma gripped Nathan's hand, panic in her eyes. "Please, don't let them take me." His rage flared. He had saved her life, found his son, and now they were going to rip them apart again. Not this time. He turned on the agents, his voice low but dangerous. "If you move her before she's stable, I will go public. Every reporter in this city will hear about how federal custody killed a trauma patient. Try me." The agent hesitated, eyes narrowing. Nathan didn't blink, didn't breathe. Finally, the agent cursed under his breath. "You've got 48 hours. Then she moves." They stormed out. Emma sagged, sobbing. Nathan gripped her hand tighter. "We're not losing this time." The next 48 hours were a blur of strategy, whispered conversations, hushed promises. Nathan arranged a secure discharge plan through Patel, whose quiet loyalty surprised him. Emma regained enough strength to walk with assistance. Noah visited daily, their bond tentative but undeniable. And for the first time in years, Nathan allowed himself to hope. The final night, as snow fell against the hospital windows, Emma reached for his hand. "I never stopped loving you," she whispered. Nathan's throat closed. He bent his forehead to hers, his eyes burning. "You left me in ruins, I know." Her tears soaked the pillow. "But I did it to save you." He cupped her face, voice breaking. "No more saving me, no more running. We face this together." For Noah, her lips trembled. Together, and in that fragile, stolen moment they kissed, a kiss full of years lost, years stolen, years still waiting to be lived. When the agents returned at dawn, they found Nathan already waiting. Papers in hand, discharge signed, transport arranged, under his conditions. Emma would recover in a secure rehabilitation facility, not an undisclosed black site. Noah would stay close, and Nathan would not be cut out again. The agents grumbled, threatened, but Nathan didn't flinch. He had faced death in the OR. He had faced 9 years without the woman he loved. He would not bend now. Weeks later, Emma walked slowly through a rehab garden, Nathan at her side, Noah skipping ahead, The sun was pale, the air crisp. For once there were no alarms, no agents, no secrets pressing on their lungs. Just a family, fragile, imperfect, but whole. Nathan squeezed Emma's hand. She leaned into him, her smile soft, tired, real. Noah turned back, grinning, his eyes alight. "Come on, Dad." The word hit Nathan's heart like salvation. He laughed, running to catch up, his hand never leaving Emma's. They had been broken, torn apart. But now, finally, together, and whatever waited ahead, they would face it as a family.